Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows. Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Of course not. The one day I can't take us home. All right. Big Charles Oakley episode, huh? Are we about to get a lot more of him this season?
It looks like he's made himself available for confessionals, so that's usually a big hint at we're going to see a lot more. And based on what I saw for next week's episode, it looks like he's going to play a pretty big role.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested where that's going to go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bros and Shows. I'm your co-host, Steele Russell, joined, as always, by Super Goots. What's up, pal? Happy Monday.
Yeah. We all love Mondays. I'd love to just have a podcast about just the days of the week. I think Tuesday is actually the worst day of the week because Monday, it's like everybody's just focused on getting through it. Yeah, it's Monday, whatever. Tuesday, you're like, God, I'm so far away from the weekend. Oh, man, still tired from the last weekend. It's just, early week struggles over here.
No, I feel you. I had a tough Monday, too. It wasn't as tough as yours, but I did. My internet went out. It was a whole thing. It took me a while to figure it out, but we got to figure it out.
At me?
Yeah, I just like begrudgingly threw a little piece of paper. It wasn't at you. It was just at Monday in general.
Well, you know what's funny too, and this has to do with Atlanta, so it's a good little segue here. You know what really pissed me off this morning? Bravo on Twitter posted a picture of Drew and said, "Are we ready to admit that Drew is having a great season?" No.
Really?
What show are we watching? No, absolutely not. Her season is so boring. I know she's going through it, and I know the whole Ralph thing. But anytime that she's on, I'm like, I know what this is about. We're not getting any more information. It's sort of like Ashley and fucking Michael when they were going through their divorce.
Oh yeah.
I just don't care anymore. I'm so over it, and it's very clear that her only storyline is this. And now that the whole Dennis thing has kind of fallen through, that's really all she has.
The interesting thing is, I don't know if I'd call it a great season. I will say this was one of the more real episodes you've ever gotten from her because her mom kind of pulled it out of her.
Yeah.
Great season. I don't know.
The scene was actually kind of funny though, because they kept panning to the steps going down to the basement. So I just kept laughing at that.
That was a funny, trying to remind you he's right there. It's
really heartfelt message about like the kids and like the status of going through a divorce and figuring things out and how emotionally taxing the whole thing is. And then they would just pan to the steps and I'd be like, Ralph.
Fucking Ralph. Ralph's a monster. That's why he lives in the basement.
He is.
This dude is unhinged. But why don't we jump into this episode? Just get right into it. We start out with Angela and Charles. And this was an interesting scene because it starts with them, they're having dinner together and very Charles-esque. What do you think of the place? He's like, we'll see when the food comes out. It's like, all right, you sound like a fun time to go out with. And I didn't know that he was a coach in the Big Three League. That's news to me.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But I understand that he's, a professional athlete. He's well known. He's set in his ways. I didn't love that when they're in the confessional. It's like, can you show up for your wife just a little bit and tell her you love her? Maybe. I don't know. Is that too much of a stretch to say, yeah, of course I love my wife? He's like, huh?
I don't think he likes when other people suggest things that he should do. I think he's very much so just like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. If I want to show affection to my wife, I'm going to do it on my terms. And I think he's almost like offended by the question. How dare you ask me to show affection to my wife? Who are you?
That's what it felt like.
But it was funny too, because they were talking about it on Watch What Happens Live. When it came to that scene, you could see people were like, Andy was trying to make an excuse for him. Like, well, he is showing up a lot on the show for her. Like, that's support. Maybe that's his version of love. And both Ashley, Darby, and Kelly were like, no, all you have to do is just say, I love my wife, and everybody will move on.
It's pretty simple. I thought. I was like, just say, I love my wife.
It's like, put your hand on her shoulder or something. Like, give her a kiss her hand. What about that?
He's sitting so very far away. He's just like, he's got his hands in between his legs, and he's just nothing. Zero. Just give her something.
Nobody's gonna blame you if you don't want to do the confessional. So when you're in the confessional, you don't have to look so miserable.
Yeah, and it's like, get past the whole, I don't know, when you're younger and like your mom says I love you in front of your friends, like, oh, mom, it's like
Yeah.
everyone knows you love your wife or you're married to her. You should love your wife.
Do we? Who knows?
That's
Now
my
we've got
point. Maybe
questions.
not. Now we have questions because you can't
Yeah.
simply say, yes, of course I love my wife or love you. I don't know. I like you said, maybe a hand on the leg.
Yeah.
Or like a pat.
Some affection.
Anything would have been nice. But she starts going over the Amari situation. Obviously, we remember Amari went over to her sister / grandmother's house, which is being paid for by Angela and Charles. And they got into it over the car where Amari wanted to use the car that, again, Angela pays for. And they wanted money for the car use. And then some words were exchanged. It ended really poorly. We get more info about the sister. I didn't realize that they haven't really spoken in 3 years.
Yeah.
They have not talked at all. So she wants to handle this situation. And she tags Charles in and says, what do you think about it? And he did have a similar situation. And his is just cut him off. Cut and dry. Don't entertain this anymore. That's the only way it's going to work is if they hit a wall. Angela wants to take the softer approach.
She does. I appreciate Angela's thinking on this too, because you want to take the softer approach, especially if you're going to be talking about it on TV. And as we can tell, which I've never seen this before, but every time that she brought up her name, it got bleeped out. So
Yeah.
the fact that the sister's name is being bleeped out shows you there's no clearance for her to be on this show or mentioned on this show. So Charles's approach of, nah, I don't give a shit. She's like, cut her off. Don't worry about it anymore. I'm like, yeah, you know that she's going to be watching this back and she's just going to use that as ammunition. You don't want to give her anything. So the better approach is at least show that you're doing something a little softer. Like, hey,
Yeah,
maybe
for the
we can
cameras
fix
at the
it.
very least.
The cameras, so that it's like not embarrassing and you're not like providing more ammunition for the sister to go after you. But I don't know. I'm not going to tell anybody how to do their family business.
It's kind of like when you're.
Place.
No, I agree, but it's kind of like when your buddy's in like a toxic relationship or something, and like he breaks up with his girl, but doesn't really break up, and then you talk shit with him about her, and then they get back together, and you're like, "Ooh, that's kind of awkward."
Like, you've got two friends. You've got one who's just telling you not to get back with your toxic ex, and the other one's like, "Well, I did see some of the nice moments, and you were genuinely happy sometimes." Just hoping that like you don't cut them off as a friend because they're just trashing on your ex. Yeah,
precisely. But moving on, we get to Cynthia and Shamia. Cynthia's I love Cynthia's role this season. I know I've said it a bunch, but it's like the peacekeeper, the wise OG, if you will. And she's talking to Shamia. We know Shamia's going through it after the Pampered event and her friendship with Porsha. And Shamia's like, I got no sleep. And I texted my mom before I even got to the Pampered event and it was like, I'm just sad for some reason, which is kind of weird that then she walked into that situation. But the root of the problem, she's upset that Porsha would talk about her friendship without her being involved, that she would vent about their friendship because she wouldn't do that. You could argue she did do that, but if we remember, Angela did somewhat pull it out of her.
Yeah. I don't think that she's willingly talking about it. Now we've seen, I don't know. I could see Porsha in a couple of different instances doing it. And maybe this is just off camera too, because we do have that conversation at the end of the episode about the version of, what kind of friendship looks like on camera versus off camera, how they do things differently. So maybe that's sort of what they're implying, is that there's a lot of conversations going on off camera that we didn't see. But I agree with you in the fact that I feel like Cynthia is almost like a producer, where she just shows up.
Feels like
she's an on-screen producer. She's like a player manager in the MLB. I'm talking about.
There you go. Yeah, totally. Babe Ruth.
Yep, Babe Ruth. So she's playing the game, but she's also furthering storylines. And I feel like somebody in each of the housewife franchises needs to be there and take up that Cynthia role, because it furthers everything. We're not sitting here, and yes, there are some storylines that are just sitting in the back collecting cobwebs, but this one in particular, let's push it a little bit. Let's have a conversation about it. Maybe we'll get some feelings out. And I think that the best part is she has good intentions. She wants them to clear it up. And you can tell that in this scene when she says, I want something like a Shamia and Porsha friendship. I want to have something like that. So you guys need to absolutely cherish what you have and work on it, and you guys will be fine. So I like that approach too.
Yeah, and she also pulls from her history with Nene Leakes and the falling out of those two, and that she misses her friendship. And I think it was more so alluding to what this show does to friendships in general, where she's like, you don't lose this one because it's hard to get these kind of friendships back. So it is interesting to hear her perspective on it all. But as Shamia's kind of recapping what has gotten her and Porsha to this place, she's like, I'm upset that the info got relayed to Porsha incorrectly. Angela told her that she's not a real friend, and then multiple people have pointed out that Portia's not a real friend to
Yeah.
Shamia. And that's the one thing where I'm like, if enough people keep saying it to you, at what point do you look in the mirror and go, is she a real friend? What is this friendship like? And I think we get that at the end of this episode with that conversation. But going back, because you have those scenes, I don't know if the montage was now or if it is. It's right now. It's like the montage of Porsha and just Shamia's song. Where she's like, that's not you. And it's not a major thing, but it's just a weird thing to do. And then to double down on it and other people taking notice. And that's where you start to really see it, is when other people are noticing and yet Shamia is still defending it. That's when Shamia starts to look bad. And I think that's what people are highlighting.
And I think it also has to look, or you have to look at Shamia and how her response is to all of this. Now, they've been friends for decades. If Portia's treating her like this and Shamia doesn't crack and she doesn't change and she doesn't do anything differently, or she's not obviously upset or emotional about the friendship, then that's just how their friendship works. There's a lot of weird friendships out there. Sometimes that happens, especially when you've been friends for that long. So now we're noticing, I feel like this season, for the most part, we've watched this bit of a dip in Shamia. And she doesn't have, obviously she's got things going on with her kids. But when it comes down to it, Portia's going through a bunch of shit. You get to the friendship, and now she's treating you differently. And you're starting to lose your light, if you want to look at it like that. You're not as, chipper. You're not as excited about your music and showing because of what Porsha just said to you last week. So there's little things here and there that I'm sure the other women are picking up on. They're like, all right, yeah, let's step in and try to get them to resolve this, because until that happens, this is just going to get worse.
And it's interesting you just said that, because if you think about Shamia over the past couple of weeks compared to the Shamia we saw in the beginning of this season, she was so bubbly. She was always in a good mood, always excited. We haven't really gotten that. We haven't really gotten a whole lot of Shamia in general, other than
she sort of took a back seat.
And maybe this is the root of it. This whole debacle with Porsha is really bumming her out, but we find out there's more components to it than we originally thought, because I guess there's a history with the parents. So Portia's mom and Shamia's mom.
This is crazy,
isn't it? There were like BFFs at one point. They had a falling out that she will not discuss on camera.
Yeah.
And we also find out that Porsha uses that against Shamia a little bit, which is
crazy,
a fucking wild move. Yeah. Like when we get to that at the end, we'll talk about it. But you can tell, at least from my perspective, that Shamia's genuine with all of this, and she's really upset. And she still, after not being in good terms, is saying all these nice things about Porsha to Cynthia, and Cynthia is echoing it, like you said, where she's like, don't lose this, like figure it out. You guys can't lose this friendship, because I wish I had a friendship like that. And it's deep. This is deep. We don't have a lot of friendships on.
I didn't realize how deep it ran. When you get the moms involved, that's insane.
Yeah, moms, decades of friendship. This is the minute that she gets a peach and she's on this show, friendship falls apart. This is what Bravo does to friendships and marriages too, by the way.
Just for our entertainment.
Oh God. Yeah, when you put it that way, we're kind of fucked up. Anyway, there's a weird like I'm gonna leave that pause.
What you wanted me to say back.
Yeah, there's nothing to really say. It's just, we take joy in watching these shows. And sometimes when you break it down, it's like, oh, maybe something's wrong with us, but that's okay.
Gladiators in the arena.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But there's a weird like 3-scene split scene that we don't have to discuss. I just made a note of it because it was like Britt was trying this. Britt, dude, can we just like edit her out of the rest of the season at this
We're
juncture?
seeing people be edited out of other shows. Why can't we just edit her out? Now,
I don't know.
It looks like she gets into it with Charles next week, so we'll have to see how that
maybe
goes. But we really didn't get much Britt this episode, and I was happy about it.
I was too, but that's kind of proving my point. It's like the only thing she had to offer this episode was asking Mike what outfit to wear at some wedding they're going to for people that we don't know and do not care
about. How about you just go to the wedding and just get out of my face?
That's what I mean. Why do we have
to come back
have...
next week and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot Britt wasn't even on the show last week. What was she doing? Oh, at a wedding? Cool. Show us a couple of pictures. Let's move on.
But that's my entire point. You don't even need this scene. Just next week when she comes back, hey, where were you? I was at a wedding. Picture of wedding. Done. Not this weird scene. And I think honestly, now that you just said the Charles part, maybe that's why they're trying to keep her relevant up until now with the editing. Because if you think about the last couple of weeks, last 3 weeks, like she's really been a non-factor, but they keep showing weird scenes like her and her sisters that we don't care about, and like her with Mike doing random shit. Maybe the only reason is to get us to the Charles blow up.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the Charles blow up is going to be so underwhelming too.
They
It's been a
usually
while.
are.
It's been a while since we've had a truly underwhelming thing happen. You see something like that, you know how it should go, and it just doesn't show up the same way. Like I could see it happening and being a one and done. See you later.
That's kind of a testament to Bravo. We're so used to being let down by foreshadowing, and we haven't been of late. So yeah, maybe this will be back to form. Oh, bummer, that didn't land.
Oh, yeah.
But let's go bowling. What do you say? Let's go
Yeah,
bowling.
let's cheer up and go bowling. Let's
cheer up and
fire
do
those
some
bumpers out there. Get the bumpers out there and have some fun, you know?
That's the best part. Porsha's talking all this shit about Angela in her confessional, and then she does the same exact thing. Hits one pin, talking all that smack. But we talk about PJ and a little update on her, and you know, we heard already that she asked, "Where's my papa?" in regards to Simon and the left on red text. And now Porsha's also realizing her new schedule without Simon around, her working more, that PJ's starting to miss her, which is sad. And I will acknowledge that Porsha's going through it. Like she's dealing with a lot of shit.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, actually, and it kind of clicked last week, and I don't exactly remember when, but I realized like this. I think I was giving her a hard time for the Shamea situation because it just seemed like, all right, Portia's just disinterested. We've watched her all season. It seems like she's just mailing it in. She's doing this, she's doing that. And then I seemed last week that she was actually genuinely sad. And then I realized, oh shit, I think we're so desensitized to watching people go through divorces on these shows that we're like, all right, come on, you got to show up for work. What are you doing? You got to do this, you got to do that. And then it kind of clicks at some point where you're like, oh yeah, you are going through it. You really are going through it. We've heard you talk about PJ asking where her daddy is a couple of different times, and it does seem to have a pretty big effect on you. And you're talking about it once again, and you're going through the Shamea thing. This isn't just a show. This isn't just something that you're doing. This isn't something that you're just mailing it in and just being lazy. You're genuinely probably emotionally like all over the place with all of the other things going on in your personal life that you are now showing up to work. And everybody in the world can do that. You go through a crappy breakup, you go through a crappy thing, and then you have to go to work the next day. I bet you're disinterested too. So you know what? I think I was a little harsh on her. And the end of this episode too, I think is also like all right, I think that's confirmation.
Yeah, and I think I'm not disagreeing, but I do believe there's two.
Both can be true for sure. But I think it is more that she's going through it than she's just like actively being an asshole.
I don't think she's intentionally trying to phone it in. Let me put it that way. I don't think she's coming into this with there's been a lot of speculation of, oh, she's back on now, she's just collecting a paycheck, she doesn't care. I don't think that's it. But on the flip side of it, something that Shamia says later that I think is the best possible thing that she could have said to Porsha to be like, shake her a little bit. It's like, because she said like, we're on the same page, like or I'm really going through it. And she's like, well, we're thinking the same way because so am I. And her saying that other people have things going on in their lives too. I'm like, you know what? That's a good point because Shamia's got a lot of shit going on. She still shows up to work. So it's like, do I have sympathy? Sure, I do. But at the same time, it's like, all right, but other people are showing up and doing their thing. It's this weird middle ground.
It's such a weird gray area because it's like, well, your peers are going through shit and they seem fine. Why are you not fine? It's like, well, you're a completely different person. That's unfair for me to say that. But again, it's Bravo, so I don't really have much of a tolerance for stuff like that. If somebody's phoning it in, I'm going to call them out. It's funny to look at it from like a normal perspective of, yeah, I don't really blame you for having very low energy and not really caring about things. And not talking. Like she just completely gave up on the whole Drew and Dennis thing and just stopped. And it's like, all right, maybe that was just a storyline that she just started phoning in and she's like, whatever, I'll just let it go.
Or maybe she feels like Dennis is also abandoning her like Simon.
Yeah, it could be all of that. Yeah. Like she's just going through it and we're like, boring.
But I don't know, because at the same time, like it is your job and like you're on reality TV. It's weird. But it was nice to at least hear her say when she's talking about the Pampered was supposed to be celebratory. Like that was a nice event. We were supposed to be happy. And
did you see her? Did you see her Instagram comment about last week when people were like, "Oh yeah, did Drew get paid for that?" She
No.
commented on it and said, "Yeah, she got her housewife's paycheck for the episode."
That's good. That's true.
Yeah.
By the way, you did get paid there technically, but she's trying to figure out where Shamia's comments are coming from, and this was a good statement from her because she says maybe too much going on right now to be a good friend. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, some self-awareness. You're not just throwing it all back on Shamia, which I appreciate because I do think
Yeah.
that Shamia has some valid gripes as well. So this made it more apparent to me that yeah, she's going through it. Where she's
Yeah.
like, I don't have the bandwidth, more or less. So I was like, all right.
Right.
But we get to Drew, who's FaceTiming with her mom. And despite answering on 2 devices simultaneously and having the echo effect, Drew does say that she's very tech savvy. So I don't want to knock her. So you know what?
Well, look at
I'm
who
gonna
she was
assume she
married
does.
to.
Her mom?
What? No, I said look at who Drew was married to.
Oh no.
Drew is very tech savvy as well.
It's like,
because,
I don't know
you
who
it's
Drew's
Ralph.
dad is.
No.
It's
You
like,
got to
where's
go to
this
all those
going?
I mean, he's got to go to all those conferences, learn how the tech works. I'm sure he's just sharing that information with everybody.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Maybe that's what he does. He gives he goes to he goes
Seminars.
to tech events and then he gives seminars about technology and how to
But
use
to
it.
family members, and then he
To
charges
older
them.
family members, and then he charges them way too much. Yeah, that
Yeah.
we finally figured it out. We got there. But Drew had to have an emergency meeting with Tanya, her attorney. This is crazy. This whole court case is fucking nuts. These two clearly hate each other, but Ralph wants her removed from the case. I'm assuming because of conflict of interest. I don't know why they'd be recused, or unless it has something to do with his claims. This is banana land, and this just further proves
I
this
can't
guy's
wrap my
fucking
head around
broke.
it, so I'm really
He's got to
hoping
be
that you can.
broke.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you can talk some sense into it because I can't figure it out for the life of me.
So he's claiming that he owns Drew Sidora LLC, which Drew claims she founded, or whatever the term is, in 2006 or 2005. Okay. Incorporated. No, because it's an LLC. It's not an incorporated.
What do you think the C stands for in
Limited Liability Corporation? No.
Yep. So
is that what it is?
Incorporated. Yeah.
But incorporated
it could be company too.
INC.
What?
Limited liability. Is it?
It's
we
still
are an LLC, and I don't know what the C and LLC stands for. That's not. We're not lawyers,
still,
guys.
You would still say incorporated. And I think she did say that actually. Now that I'm thinking about it,
can we say incorporated?
Absolutely.
I don't think we are. I think you don't know this.
No,
one.
The verb, like past participle, like I incorporated this officially.
You LLC'd this.
That
you limited liability this.
Yeah, all right, we'll go with that.
we double L'd this bad boy so we can move on.
We double L'd the hell out of that C. Ew, I don't like that.
Fuck that. That was terrible. Gross. You just made. We're talking about an LLC and you made it gross. Nice job, dickhead.
Anybody ever sexualize a company before?
Yeah, probably, but not with the terminology. What the fuck are we talking about? Emergency meeting with Tanya. That's right. He won. It's been a bad day. Oh, fuck. Here we go. So he's claiming he owns the company. He wants 40% of Drew Sidora Incorporated, Drew Sidora LLC. And I guess she started another entity afterwards that he also wants a piece of right now. So he wants to take her bit. Sure. Okay. What a guy. What a stand-up guy. You're not taking the whole thing. You're trying to. But it contradicts what I don't know his finances. Then how do you know how well this man does? None of us know what he does for a living, first of all. Second of all, he's trying to take
separate bank accounts, and you've been married for how long? You have kids. Like, what are you talking about?
It's just none of it tracks. None of it makes any sense to me because you don't know his financials. We don't know what he does for work. He's trying to take both of your companies. You claim that you're taking care of the kids 100%, which I assume implies financially.
Yep.
So what does he do? Why do you know he does well? How do you know he does well? And what money does he have?
No
These
idea.
are all questions that you need to figure out because you said you were going to read the court files and they are unsealed.
The other part of it is, I did say I was going to do that. Well, that day. The other part of it is anytime that they start talking about this court case, I always wonder what the fuck is the court doing allowing all this weird behavior? Like the whole text thing, like, yes, we can laugh about it as much as we want. Him being secluded to the basement, them
Is
having to
crazy.
text on a text app for all of their communication, him being able to change locks, which we find out a little bit later,
whoa. Sorry, then you keep
or
going.
the code. But yeah,
Text app,
all,
I agree with, actually, because the judge can try to keep it from getting, like, that actually makes sense. That protects somebody because of
somewhat.
the party.
I've just never heard of that before. But all of these things, and now he's coming after her. He's changed legal counsel like 7 times. He's
Sketch.
now coming after her LLCs. He's coming after all of these things. And it seems like the judge is just allowing all of this to go on. Like it's a circus of a courtroom, it sounds like.
Agreed. The locking out of the house, I was like, there's no charges you can file
Yeah.
there? Like, I don't understand
No
how
idea.
he can lock you out of the house when he's supposed to be
But
sequestered
you know
to
what?
the
They have
basement.
separate bank accounts. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some weird situation where like they both kind of own the house, but separately, but together. And there's like some new legal thing that they have going on with owning the asset together. It's bizarre. Their whole marriage. I mean, they should be getting a divorce because they don't know
should
what the
not
hell
have
they're
been
doing
married.
together. No, they should not have been married. But every time that we get new information about this, I'm like, what is this? What
It's
are we living in? Some
crazy.
fantasy land?
Yeah, and the court sounds, I mean, maybe the judge, you know what it is? The judge is probably so fed up with the bullshit that when something new happens, he's like, I don't care. Just
Yeah,
show up for the
It's a
court
possibility.
hearing.
I
Like,
mean,
I don't.
we theorized that the judge was a Bravo fan that just wanted to watch this play out.
That's another thing that could be.
Yeah,
And he's
I
just
like
like
that one
making it
better.
worse.
Yeah.
That would actually be diabolical, but kind of funny if he's just trying to add to the plot line.
Oh, I would
If
respect
Andy's
that.
paying him under the table.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get to Angela and her mom, who I love her name, La Margaret.
hmm
If I'm pronouncing it correctly,
Big fan.
I love that name. But Angela obviously brings up the house, and actually, I take that back. Before Angela can even bring up the house, mom says that she's getting the new keys.
hmm
Angela's like, new keys to what? She's like, well, the house, of course. And she's like, what's going on? Mom wants to be more self-reliant. Okay, sure.
Fair.
Fine. My question, and not trying to be rude, it's just the way that Angela discussed it is though that she needed to provide for her mom, which is very
Yeah.
sweet. And Angela had a nice sentiment. What house? How are you buying the house? Like, I guess she must have some money of her own, but that was confusing to me. Not that that's a
Yeah.
big deal. It doesn't really matter, but it's just the
It felt
situation with Angela and her mom and her sisters is a strange one.
very bizarre. And I got, again, like when we're listening to Angela talk in her confessional about how it was always her dream to take care of her mom. When her
Mm.
mom gets a little bit older, she wants to get her a house, make sure she's good and taken care of. And it seemed like the words coming out of her mom's mouth were, I'm thinking about you. Like, I want to be self reliant. I don't want you to have too much on your plate. And it seemed like if you looked at it in a transcript, you'd be like, I guess that's kind of nice. You know, they'll figure it out. It'll be okay. The way she was talking about it, I'm like, it seems like there's a lot more going on here. Like maybe her sister's like, oh, you're going to allow Angela to pay for your house and she's going to do all this. So now she's the better daughter. Like there's probably some more deep seated issues going on there in that
Oh,
family.
absolutely.
And I'm sure that there's probably some gaslighting going on from the other side. And we don't know, you know, obviously we can only go off of what we see, but it just seemed really weird. Like it was like patronizing, like, hey, you've got so much on your plate. Like,
Yeah.
you know, don't worry about me. I'll go buy a new house, but I'm going to live with your sister. It's like, I don't.
Yeah, there was a weird vibe to the whole conversation,
Yeah.
honestly, because Angela's taking it a certain way where she's like, that's nice that I don't have to take care of them anymore, but at the same time, like it hurts. It's like,
Yeah.
this is convoluted as shit, and I don't know what's really going on. But when they get to the Amari situation, Angela's upset because her mom didn't say anything. So
Mhm.
when her sister's going off on Amari, mom stayed silent, and she's like, I know that you have it in you because you stood up for me with Charles when Charles said something along the lines of, your daughter needs to clean up.
Yeah.
And I guess LaMargaret went off on Charles to the point that they haven't talked in 3 years
hmm
over that statement. And then mom's like, but I love him. He's my son. I'm like, okay, that's sweet. Even though we're pretty much the same age. I was like, okay, this is all very strange. I don't know. I'm usually pretty good at reading the vibe. I like to pride myself on that, where I can
Yeah.
like read the room, read the energy,
Yeah,
not like,
definitely.
not spiritual. I'm just
No,
saying, like,
no.
pick up on vibes, right?
Not like Ghostbusters. Yeah.
No, not that stuff. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if they're mad at each other, if they're both being like, ha ha, but they're both quietly like pissed off. If I don't know what's going on here.
I didn't know what was going on either, and usually I just defer to whatever Angela's talking about, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably what's going on. It seems like she was just as confused. I mean, when we're
Yeah.
sitting there, and her mom drops all of this in like a heartbeat. It's like, whoa, what? Well, this is a lot of information. We're finding out the same time Angela's finding out, which is bizarre. And now she's trying to like gather her senses, trying to figure out what the hell is actually going on. And her mom had this. It just, I think that's part of it. It just seemed like premeditated. Like she had this whole rehearsed thing. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And then getting to the Amari stuff, it's like, I still don't really understand what you're saying. Like I don't get where your vibe is. It seems like you're taking the position of, that's between you and your sister. I'm going to stay out of it. Wasn't there. Angela's daughter was there, and your granddaughter other daughter is now taking out her upset attitude towards her daughter, your granddaughter, and you didn't do anything. But you're like, it's not really my place. It's like, it is your place.
I would think so. I would want my grandmother to stick up for me. I'd be bummed out if she did. I know she would. She's a badass. Just to paint a picture of my grandmother for everybody
who listens to our show,
who does listen. What's up, Gaggy? She got Bugs Bunny tattooed on her back, about yay big, when she was 75 years old, because it was her anniversary with my grandfather, and we called him Doc. So she got a tattoo of Bugs Bunny on her back at 75 that says, "What's up, Doc?" And when I go visit her, she is outside in her garden 95% of the time. When I pull up, she's chilling out in the garden. She's got her polo on with the sleeves rolled up, like short sleeve like that, polo rolled up, crushing a fucking dart, smoking a heater in her garden. And I want to get a picture of that and have somebody paint it, because she's such an awesome person. But anyway,
I have to ask, are there carrots in the garden?
There's not. There's no carrots. The garden is she grows some vegetables, but it's mostly plant. It's gorgeous. She has a green thumb. But yeah. So that's Gaggy. She's awesome. But anyway, let's get to Kelly and Chloe in a little driving lesson. And this made me scared. I realized
unsafe.
She needs to get in. She doesn't. And I also blame Kelly. You can't learn to drive in a giant SUV.
Yeah.
Like, of course she's going over the lines in the lane. That car's massive. She's driving a bus. Get her a small car. I did agree with her sentiment.
This felt unsafe from a Bravo standpoint. Like, hey, you've got a car right in front that's filming them driving, and we're watching them just spray all over the road, and you guys aren't doing anything. You're just keeping it rolling.
You're
like, well, something will happen. We'll figure it out. Like,
they're probably like hoping that she rear ends the Bravo van.
Yeah.
I can see that headline right now.
Yeah, I was pretty uneasy during that.
I was too. I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh God, like, oh, get in the line. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, there is a really big thing over there. Don't drive so close to it. But I liked Kelly's sentiment a lot, actually, because she's like, maybe I should get you an old like hatchback Honda. I was like, okay. And then when she's talking about, because Chloe's like, I'll take a small BMW, and she's like, you can't afford that gas. She's like, well, you're gonna pay for it. She's like, I take care of me. You take care of me. Like, oh yeah, Kelly, love that. And we get an update on our soon to be what do you call it when you invest in something?
What?
Is there a name for something that you're investing in? Like, if I'm investing in a company, like, can I
what does that make you?
Yeah.
Equity?
Okay. That's not as fun.
But
we're about to have equity in Nana's Chicken and Waffles at some point or another. Did you see it when they were in that weird split scene? I was like, oh God. Yeah. We need to go to Atlanta and go to Nana's Chicken and Waffles.
We have to. Pulling that chicken out of the fryer, I was like, oh my God.
I know, dude. We've given this place more advertising than they've paid for. So
it always makes me so hungry.
Me too. But everything hinges on the Sandy Springs location, which is their soon to be flagship store. But let's get back to Drew and her mom. This was the realest scene I've ever seen Drew in. And so I will give her credit there. And again, her mom kind of pulled it out of her, but mom flew. You have to give the
mom credit.
Definitely. And she flew into Atlanta to help Drew out because she is going through a whole lot of shit. This scene was actually really sad. And I did feel for Drew here. And she's talking about how her and Ralph are at war and that Tanya might be recused. And this whole process starts over. It's been a 2-year battle already. But when she says things like this, I'm not knocking her for it. And maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's for the cameras, for the kids' sake. But she's like, we are better co-parents than we were spouses. And her mom's banana for that whole thing.
Yeah.
she does say that we're better co-parents than we were spouses. And the mom kind of speaks for, I think, most of us, where she's like, well, that's conflicting because you claim that he cares, you claim that he's a good co-parent, but at the same time, he's trying to rip you and your whole life down by taking your companies and dragging out this divorce. And the kids are going to see that. That can't be good for them. So I don't think you're better co-parent. Just because you're getting along in front of the children doesn't say you're a good co-parent. If you guys are not able to, I don't know, not go to blows in the courtroom, like that's so contradicting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not going to knock her for it because I think a lot of people going through a divorce always say this, like, oh yeah, we're great co-parents. We're better co-parents than we were parents or whatever they want to say. I think it's just something you say. And I think it's probably just sort of like a misidentified emotion of I'm happy that we're no longer married and we're taking this time to separate. And I can appreciate and respect the fact that you're still being a good dad, even though we're going through all this shit. But really what that is just, I'm happy to not be married to you anymore. And you're still parenting over there. So we're better co-parents than we were together. It's like, well, not really. That's not really how that works. You guys are still going like tit for tat in the courtroom for pretty much everything that you're doing. And it's getting very messy and it's spilling over to your personal life and it's spilling over to the kids. So it's not really a situation where you can say, yeah, we're great co-parents. We just never should have gotten together. It's like, no, it's getting messy.
But again, like I get it. Like I'm not saying she should have
fully understand it
differently. It's just when you break it down pragmatically, it's like, not really. But I guess mom talked to Ralph and she just commented on the living situation. And she's like, you know, I told him like the court's made a dumb decision with this living situation because of the kids. Like they're out of control. And this is where I felt bad. This is when I really felt bad for Drew, because when mom says the kids are out of control, like she goes into it, she's like, you know, I spend all day yelling at them and they don't listen to me anymore. And if they don't listen to me, like if I can't control kids, then nobody can. And it's a problem. And you see Drew like breaking down more and more as this is going on. And she's like, please, all right, like, please stop. Because she didn't know that this was going on. Like she didn't know the kids weren't the same. And again, like I can't blame her. Like she's got a lot of shit going on. And I'm sure there's a big part of her that is so afraid to affect her kids. That trying to see them in the best light possible and maybe missing.
She's also probably afraid to like actually speak the words that the kids are starting to, you know, change their behavior based on what's going on, because then it's almost like you're admitting like, am I a bad parent or something along those lines?
And no,
so it's, you know, obviously it's like rose colored glasses, even though you're dealing with all of this stuff every day and you're yelling at the kids and they're, you know, not listening to you anymore. You're still not going to admit to yourself like, ooh, this situation's bad.
Yeah. And I get that. Like because if you have to put that on your plate too, like you got enough going on. So like, if you add that the kids are affected, it's like, Jesus, your whole world's crashing down. So I really felt for Drew, and it was a real scene. Mom's crying, Drew's crying. And again, a reminder, similar to what you said about Porsha. It's like, this is some real shit and we do feel for her. So I hope that they get it tied up soon. Honestly, for the kids' sake, fuck Ralph. Forever. That dude sucks balls. But for the kids, man, like that sucks. It really does. But let's get to probably, arguably, the most notes I've ever taken on one scene.
Interesting.
It's just, there was so much going on and they kept saying things. I was like, oh my God. And I had to keep writing. But it's Shamia and Porsha. And maybe this is because they're real friends and it's been decades of friendship and you're seeing it somewhat crash down. But when they arrive, it's already awkward out of the gate. You can tell Shamia's got a chip on her shoulder just by her responses. You know, she's like, how was your week? Because you had your event. Like that was a big deal. And it's just this weird energy. Porsha picks up on it. And for me, this was Shamia's opportunity to get it all out there, because we've watched her tiptoe around Porsha since the season started. We've watched Porsha say mean things and Shamia brushes it off. So I was hoping that's what we were going to get. And we did. And she starts out about banana. Then she starts out apologizing for not being open. And she's like, I always handled this friendship with care, which you can tell she did because she was afraid to overstep and push Porsha away. And that's also indicative of what this friendship really was, which is Portia's here, Shamia's kind of here. So as they're talking, she starts to get a little bit more into it. She's like, the difference between you and me is that when you take a shot at me, or you throw shade at me, or you talk over me, or you make comments about my music, I don't blow it up then and there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I wanted to be like, well, you don't blow it up, period. You just bury it and don't talk about it, which is also not good. But she says those things are dismissive and they're hurtful. And moving forward, I would like to.
Whoa.
Oh, Sid's here. And she's like, moving forward, I would like to. And in that moment, Porsha goes, and I'm like, wow, you don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah,
that stuff. And like Shamia talks about it during body language and responses like that, I believe speak way louder than anything you're going to actually say.
yeah, absolutely. Especially with a friend that you've been with for that long, you can pick up on
Decades.
those things immediately. Not that she was really hiding any of those body
No.
language things. She was very apparent. But at the same time, it's interesting because you go into this conversation and you don't really know. It's probably dependent on how you feel about Porsha and what she's been doing this season. And if she's being a good friend, or if you're looking at it like she is going through a lot and she doesn't know how to handle it. I think it's a little bit of both. I think that she's for sure probably just down in the dumps, going through the divorce, figuring out her new life, working, doing this and that, whatever. And she's taking away from everything else, all of her other friendships that she needs to make sure that she invests in, but she's not investing in it. And she's just checked out. And it's tough because Shamia is here ready to resolve. And that's what she came in for. And that's what I believe she would have come in for too.
She came in to resolve it, but Porsha came in to resolve it?
Shamia.
Shamia.
I don't think I got the sense early in the conversation that Porsha didn't give a shit. Like
that's what I felt like.
I got to do it. And I know she breaks the fourth wall again later, which she tried to do earlier in the season. It didn't hit. But here it's sort of like you get the vibe of, I guess I'm here because we're filming the show. Like, I don't know if Porsha would have been there if they weren't filming the show. I don't know if she would have shown up. I don't know if she would have just called and just, made up an excuse, said she was sick, didn't show up, and then tried to have some conversation, but it's really just pushing things off like completely till the end of the road. But Shamia came in ready to spill all of her feelings, make sure that Porsha hears what she's saying and what she's feeling, and then also resolve it, which is the best way to go about it. And that's exactly what we would expect from Shamia. Porsha early on in this conversation, like, what an asshole. Just,
dude.
What a dick. At least, look, if you feel differently, use your words. Tell her that you feel differently. Tell her that she's wrong. Yeah, you can feel whatever you want, but when you're telling me that I'm doing stuff like this, I don't agree with you. At least do that. But
I agree.
Sit there and like yawn and just sigh and just like move around and be fidgety. And then towards the end of the conversation, when she is really fidgety, I'm like, oh, she's actually going through it. There's some like deep anxiety going on right now, and she doesn't know how to handle it. So I think that's where I am by the end of the conversation. But early on, I'm like, wow, what an ass.
And that also takes me back to what Shamia says in this scene, where it's like, we all got shit going on. It's like, dude, you want Shamia to show up for you, but you're sitting at the table rolling your eyes at things that she's clearly felt for possibly decades.
Probably like years,
Yeah. So at the very least, respond, act like you want to be there. Stop making weird, shaking your head at her and making sighs and like all. It's just weird behavior. And Porsha goes to a confessional, and there's a couple things in here. I'm like, all right, is this a move? This being one of them, where she goes in the confessional and she's like, I'm just surprised that she's bringing up all these things that we've already talked about. I'm like, okay, did they talk about it? To what extent did they talk about it? She's trying to make it look like Shamia is showing up for the cameras. That's her intention, and that's her intention throughout this scene, which is ironic because Shamia's thing is that Porsha shows up for the cameras, but real Porsha, her friend Porsha, is off camera Porsha. So it's almost like they're saying two different things that each of them are doing. But when they start really getting into it after the sigh and after all that bullshit, she's like, look, I'm trying to possibly salvage this friendship. And again, Porsha has a response, and she's like, look, it feels like you're dismissive. We have these nonverbal communications going on. And I like that she kept bringing it back to Porsha, where she's like, if I did this to you, you would feel a certain way. I'm like, yeah, keep doing that. That's a good way to play this one.
It's like the only way that you could appeal to Porsha's emotions is by trying to put her in your shoes.
Right.
Which, sometimes she's just not going to be receptive to that, and she's not going to allow you to do that. Other times she'll probably respond and be like, oh yeah, Yeah, no. If the ball was in my court, I'd probably be pretty pissed off at you.
She'd be livid if that's
Yeah.
how Shamea was acting. And she would call her out immediately and be like, what's your fucking problem? Like, it wouldn't be this conversation that Shamea has been waiting to have for, again,
Yeah.
probably years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then she brings up the mom comments. She's like, it's also hurtful that you come to me and tell me things like, well, my mom said not to trust you. And, you know, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, things like that. She's like, do you know how that makes me feel? And she's like, well, I didn't say it. I just, first and foremost, I don't know why you would relay that information to begin with. Like, just keep that one to yourself.
Yeah.
And then Shamea's like, you say that and you say it causes you to like push back from me and like back up. She's like, well, I didn't say that. She goes, you did say that. And so now you're lying because you said that to me off camera. So if you're not going to be honest about what you said off camera, then what the hell are we even doing here? Which I love.
She's just not willing to like go into a conversation that she's not taking control of, it seems. Where if she doesn't want to talk about it, she's just not going to talk about it. And she's going to be so like gaslighty and so, I'm sorry you feel that way, but we'll never actually apologize.
What it is.
You know what? It's never going to be the full, you know, my actions have caused this and I'm sorry for my role in this. That's pretty much what Shamea would want. And then, hey, let's move on and we'll figure it out. We're always going to be friends. Don't worry about it. Instead, it's, well, how am I supposed to be able to control your emotions? I didn't do anything. You're the one feeling this way. What's this my problem for?
That's exactly how she's playing it. And I guess the other day, Shamea was like, I wish we could be the way we are on camera, the way that we are off camera. And your response, Porsha, was they don't pay me enough for that. Why can't we be that way? That 100% happened.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind that's verbatim what was said.
Absolutely.
And that's when Porsha goes the show angle again. And then it's interesting because we know confessionals are filmed, you know, at least a couple weeks after, if not months after. So for her to then have a confessional earlier on in this scene where she's saying, implying that Shamea is showing up for the cameras, and then she doubles down, or banana. And you put those two together and she says, why are you trying to argue for the show? And it's like, so you're trying to point at that she is doing it for the camera and you on the flip side are not showing up your real self on the camera. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting battle.
It's also very interesting knowing what we know now, because Shamea was on Watch What Happens Live last week and she was still saying that the state of their friendship wasn't great. So no matter what happens in this conversation, I saw it going a completely different way. I was like, ooh, this is getting worse. This is getting worse. We're actually going to see what happens here. And even if it got to a point, which it did towards the end, where it's like, oh, maybe they can squash it. Maybe they can move on.
I don't think
something else happens. And you can tell exactly why it's happening here. And again, I'm still torn between she has so much going on and I don't think she knows how to deal with it. But also, this is your best friend. This is somebody you've known for years and years and years. And you're still going to treat her this way. Like, no.
It's fucked up. And I thought you were going to keep going.
No.
Sorry. Because I think that it ends the way that it does, not because it's like this come to Jesus moment. Like, I just need my friend. I think she was tired of the conversation. I think she was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going to pretend like we're good now. And I hear her and we're going to move on from this. I don't think it was genuine at all, because after she gets up and walks away and goes to the bathroom and breaks the fourth wall with it, you're okay. Like in the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
She comes back and she's like, let's get the food to go. And Shamea was disappointed. She's like, well, you know, I'm sad that we're ending it this way. She's like, well, you weren't talking anymore, so I assumed dinner was over. It's like, because you told me to stop. You said, Shamea, stop. These are the comments that, one, I hate when people say shit like this. And two, it's so dismissive. Again, she's like, I'm just human, just trying to do the best I can. It's like, so we, like, all of us are. What the fuck does that even mean? What are you talking about right now? That's not
like taking being dismissive to a new level.
Correct. And that's when Shamea checks her and is like, yeah, well, we both are in that headspace because we both got a lot of shit going on. And I can mask my feelings to protect our friendship because you're fragile, but I want you to care about the things that hurt me and not dismiss me. That's a totally fair thing to say to your friend.
Yep.
You know what you shouldn't do? Pick up all the silverware and slam them in the middle of the table and be like, what do you want me to do?
It was so dramatic.
It was
like,
crazy.
oh, wait, there might be like a little bit of a breakthrough here. Nope, not at all. Don't
No,
need
and
to do that at all.
but that's what made the last part of this scene fall flat for me, because then
Yeah.
when she responds, what can I do? If I'm pouring my heart out, don't act like you don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Check. She literally just said what she wants, and you literally did
Yep.
the thing that she doesn't want you to do. And then she
Mhm.
starts crying and says, I don't want to break up with you. We got this. Let's move forward. Shamia in a confessional was like, I feel like I was heard. I was like, when? At what point did you get your point
Yeah.
across there? At what point
I
did it
think
really land?
that's their friendship, and I think that's the thing that's really going to bother you anytime that you watch the two of them together when Shamia is going through it, because Shamia is so much more vocal, and we don't really know. Like, look, Shamia could be making Porsha feel a completely different type of way, and we could be on Portia's side, but she doesn't share any of it. She doesn't talk about it. She doesn't share her feelings on the matter.
By the way, I
So
would still be Team
naturally,
Shamia.
yeah, and based on how Shamia has been talking and the way that she's opening up about everything, yeah, I'm probably Team Shamia as well. But at the end of the day, you you just need to realize, hey, we've been friends for super long, and I think that's what happened with Shamia at the end. All she got was the bare minimum, which was a little bit of crying, and then I don't want to break up with you. I love you. And she's
Yeah.
like, wow, we're so back. It's like, what do you mean? Are we just dismissing all the other shit that happened?
I think so. I think part of Shamia, and clearly it didn't stick because they're still not cool, but like clearly part of her just wants that friendship back so bad
I
that
think
she's
so,
willing to
yeah.
make some concessions. But at the same time, it's
Yeah.
like, Shamia, you came into this whole thing to be heard, to get your feelings out, to make sure that Porsha understands your feelings. And the minute that Porsha gets upset, you go back to old friend mode and try to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. She doesn't seem like your real friend. I've only watched you guys for a season. I know this show does weird things to friendships,
Yeah.
but from what I gather from Shamia talking about their friendship,
Doesn't
this is
seem like
how
they're
it's
in a good
always
place.
been.
Yeah.
But I mean, like back in the day, it seems like this has always been it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, there's weird friendships out there, but this is the bare minimum. She
Yeah.
cares about you, care about her too. You know, I don't know. And like, to your point early on, sure, Portia's going through a lot. Yes, I can sympathize with that. I don't think it's fair to ask so much of your friend, because she does in confessionals. I just need Shamia right now. I don't want to end this friendship. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose that. Well, then be nice, dude.
Yeah.
Just fucking be nice to her. I don't
And the
think
worst
it's
of
that
all,
hard.
like you got all dressed up and went out there and ordered your food, and then you ended up just taking it to go. Which,
Yeah,
you know what?
right?
I'm actually kind of in between on though, because if the food's really good, I can go eat it in the comfort of my own home, like
Sure.
sit down, hang out, watch some TV. Maybe not not the worst thing, but it was very funny that that's how it ended. Like, hey, we've
Right.
got this food to go. It seems like we're clearing the air a little bit. You could easily just sit there. I would have loved to have seen them go back to the waitress and ask her if she could put the food back on the plate. It's like, hey, actually, we're good. We kind of squashed this. We're actually going to sit here and we're going to eat. Do you mind putting it back on the plate? Maybe like
Yeah,
warm it up a little
JK.
bit. That'd be great.
Yeah, just throw in the microwave. Just real
Yeah,
quick.
come on.
But let's get to some questions.
From Rylan MacD15, will Drew be back next season? I think without a doubt in my mind, Drew
Yeah.
will be back next season.
Yeah, I think that this season has gone well enough. I like this season. I don't think there's any what we don't need, because it's been that way for the past few years on Bravo. The mix-ups that we get after seasons end, like when a good season runs its course and then they
Yeah.
move, like why? Just
Yeah.
leave it alone. Like this
Honestly, just
season's
get
good
rid of
enough.
Britt, or what's she going to bring to the table? Otherwise, you can get rid of Britt and then leave everybody else. I'm fine with
Agreed.
that.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good show. From Savor, in some people speculating on Nene making a return, which
Yeah.
all signs point to, because she was anti-Bravo for a while, and then what was it, last year she changed her tune. So their relationship with Bravo is okay. I think her and Andy are okay again, so I wouldn't be surprised. We've been seeing a lot of house
Referenced during Atlanta, it would always be, like, we know who you're talking about, but they would never say her name. Now they're saying her name just outright. So it just seems like it's a completely different situation. So maybe that's just a byproduct of her getting, back into good terms with Bravo. It might not mean that she's coming back or doing anything, but at least with her being back in good terms, she's not going to be upset when they're talking about her.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's do two more from Della Zaja. I hope I said that right. If not, I apologize. Do you think Shamia should let up on Porsha with all she's going through? This is what they
No.
sign up for. This
Yeah.
is part of the show. And also, like, Shamia is allowed to express her feelings too. I know Portia's going through it, but like the
Mhm.
other part of that is for Shamia to be a good friend to Porsha, she has to vent these things that she's been feeling for a while. And I think Shamia understands what holding a peach means. You got to bring this shit up
Yep.
on camera.
Exactly.
One more.
Let's do one more here.
Without bump. I can't
Without.
bowl though, really.
Why?
Because well, when I broke my thumb in baseball, they stuck a screw in there, and I'm not
You
supposed
just
to bowl.
use your other hand.
I do. So I do bowl. I'm just
Or
not
do
any.
granny style.
I've done that. Or
Yeah.
if I go with Poppy, we use the you put it on top and it rolls down. Like the
Oh, yeah.
that thing's fun.
The
I
assisted.
like bowling.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. And it
No,
hurts
I'm
my
not very
thumb.
good either. You know what the funny thing about bowling is? When I do it, I have fun doing it and I, try to be good at it. But the next day I have the weirdest pains and aches.
There's a lot of weird muscles you use in bowling.
It's like it's forearm in here somewhere, and then it's like my
Your
lower
sciatic.
glute. Yeah, it's like my lower glute on my right side. It's like a weird spot, and then like maybe a hamstring or something, maybe like a calf strain. Like it's just crazy.
Well, it's just muscles we don't really use daily.
Yeah.
Or at least like that to throw a 8-pound ball down.
Yeah.
But anyway, glad we answered the hard-hitting questions. But look, the Monday's almost over, pal. You almost got through it. So go have yourself a nice din and rest up for tomorrow, pal.
Oh yeah.
You got anything else?
Nope.
Well, that's our show. Bro's got to go.